The doctor didn't raise his voice. He didn't rush. He just looked at me and said, "If you keep living like this, you won't make it another 10 years. That sentence didn't come after a car crash. It didn't come after a heart attack. It came after something much quieter. I collapsed in my own kitchen, not screaming, not bleeding, just suddenly empty. My knees buckled, my vision narrowed, my chest didn't hurt. It felt crowded, like decades of pressure had finally decided to show up all at once. The ambulance lights flashed against my neighbor's window. He was walking his dog. Same time as every morning. He waved. I didn't wave back. That's how ordinary it was. Later, sitting in a hospital chair built for someone younger, something uncomfortable became clear. I wasn't sick because I didn't know how to take care of myself. I wasn't sick because I ignored my body. I was sick because for years I lived with stress I never learned how to protect myself from. And most of that stress didn't come from work. It didn't come from money. It didn't even come from age. It came from words, things I said too easily, things I shared too freely, things I should have kept to myself. I didn't lose the most important things in my life because I was poor. I didn't lose them because I wasn't smart. I lost them because I said things I never should have said. My name is Henry. I'm 76 years old. I spent most of my life working maintenance at a public high school in the Midwest, Ohio, small town, the kind of place where people know your truck, your schedule, and your business, whether you offer it or not. I fixed broken lockers, leaky pipes, lights that flickered when no one else noticed. I believed in being open. I believed in being honest. I believed that talking things through made life easier. That belief cost me more than my back pain ever did. Here's what no one tells you about getting older in America. Stress doesn't always come from tragedy. It comes from exposure. Too many conversations, too many explanations, too many moments where you hand pieces of your life to people who don't know how to carry them. According to the American Psychological Association, adults over 65 who live with chronic social stress face significantly higher risks of heart disease, sleep disorders, and immune system decline. Not because they're weak, but because they've spent decades absorbing tension that was never theirs to hold. In small towns, words move faster than ambulances. You tell one person something private, and by the weekend, it's been reshaped, repeated, and sharpened. Most people don't mean harm. That's what makes it dangerous. They just react. They just repeat. They just fill silence. I learned, too late, that silence isn't emptiness. Silence is protection. At my age, I don't measure life by accomplishments anymore. I measure it by what I managed not to lose. My health, my dignity, a few relationships that survived my mistakes. I used to think sharing brought people closer, but there are things that create distance the moment they leave your mouth. And there are things, once spoken, that never return the same. Today, I want to share 5 secrets you must keep to yourself. Things that once you say them out loud, you can never take back. Speaking your mind isn't always brave. Sometimes it's just foolish, because the wrong words don't just hurt others, they destroy you. If this resonates with you, hit that like button and subscribe. I'm Golden Hours. Let's begin. Because each of these secrets carries a cost. Some cost money, some cost people. Some cost your health, and every single one of them starts the same way, with one sentence you think is harmless. As the heater hums and my coffee goes cold, I can still hear the echo of those sentences. That's where this story truly begins. This is the first secret, and it's the one most people get wrong. If you want to protect your health as you age, there is something you must understand early. Other people's secrets are not information. They are weight, and carrying weight that doesn't belong to you will break your body faster than time ever will. I learned that on a Thursday night. Every Thursday after work, I bowled. Same bowling alley, same bar attached to it, same worn-out stools, sports on the TV, the smell of fried food soaked into the carpet. It wasn't glamorous, it was routine. And routine is where trust grows. Mike was there every week. Mike was the kind of guy people liked instantly. Big laugh, loose shoulders, Always picked up the next round when he could. We'd been bowling together for 15 years. 15 years is long enough to think you know a man. That night, Mike didn't laugh much. He missed easy shots, sat longer than usual, barely touched his drink. Halfway through the night, he leaned closer and said, "Hey, can I tell you something?" "Just you." That sentence should have stopped me, but it didn't. We stepped outside, near the back door where the noise faded. He told me his son was in recovery. Not rehab, not jail. Recovery. He said it quietly, like the word itself could get him in trouble. His boy was trying to stay clean, trying to work again, trying to rebuild something fragile. Mike said, "People find out, they label him. I don't want that." He looked straight at me and said, "I trust you." And in that moment, I felt important. That's the dangerous part. When someone trusts you, your ego wakes up before your judgment does. I nodded. I said all the right things. "I won't tell a soul." And I meant it. At least I thought I did. That night I came home quieter than usual. My wife noticed. She asked, "Everything okay?" I hesitated. Then I said, "Yeah, just Mike's dealing with something." I didn't tell her everything, just enough to explain my mood. I told myself it didn't count. She's my wife. We don't keep secrets. That's what people say right before things fall apart. A few days later, my wife mentioned it to her sister. Not the details, just concern. Her sister mentioned it to a friend. That friend was part of a church group. In small American towns, that's all it takes. Concern turns into curiosity. Curiosity turns into speculation. Speculation turns into certainty. By Sunday, people weren't asking if something was wrong. They were whispering about what was wrong. I didn't know any of this yet. I found out on Thursday. Same bowling alley, same night. Mike walked in, saw me, and stopped. He didn't smile. He stood there for a moment like he was deciding something. Then he walked over. He didn't raise his voice. That's what made it worse. His eyes looked tired, older. He said, "How many people know?" I froze. I asked, "Know what?" He didn't answer right away. Then he said, slowly, "Don't lie to me." Someone at church had asked him how his son was holding up. Used that exact phrase. Mike stood there, waiting. I felt heat rise in my chest. Not anger, shame. I told him what happened. Not excuses, just the truth. He didn't interrupt me. When I finished, he nodded once. Then he said, "I trusted you with the most fragile thing in my life." He paused. "And you treated it like small talk." That was it. No yelling, no scene. He grabbed his jacket and left. He never bowled with us again. He stopped answering my calls. Stopped waving when we passed each other. 15 years ended in one conversation that I thought didn't matter. A month later, I started sleeping worse. My chest felt tight at night. My blood pressure crept up. According to research published by Harvard Medical School, chronic guilt and social stress significantly increase cortisol levels in older adults, directly impacting heart health and immune response. I didn't need a study to tell me that. My body already knew. Here's the lesson I learned too late. Secrets don't spread on their own. They move through mouths. And the most dangerous lie we tell ourselves is this: "I'll only tell one person." That sentence has ruined more friendships than betrayal ever did. Other people's secrets are not yours to manage. They are not yours to process out loud. They are not yours to soften by sharing. They are a responsibility. And when you treat responsibility like relief, it turns into damage. You don't betray someone when you hate them. You betray them when you minimize what they trusted you with. If you want to protect your health as you age, your heart, your sleep, your peace, this is where it starts. Stop carrying weight that isn't yours, because your body keeps score. And once trust is gone, stress takes its place. That was the first secret. And it taught me something I wasn't ready to hear. Some damage doesn't come from what happens to you. It comes from what you let pass through you. And the next secret taught me what happens when the weight you carry is your own. This is the second secret. And this one quietly destroys people from the inside. After you learn to stop carrying other people's weight, you face a harder problem. What to do with your own. After 60, pain doesn't knock. It moves in. Your knees wake you up before your alarm does. Your shoulders ache before you lift anything. Sleep becomes something you remember, not something you expect. For me, it started small. A stiff morning here, a bad night there. Then came the blood pressure meds. Then the pills for sleep. Then the nights where I stared at the ceiling and counted hours instead of sheep. Like most people my age, I didn't hide it. I talked about it. At backyard barbecues, leaning against the grill, I'd mention my knees. At family gatherings, someone would ask, "How are you doing?" And I'd answer honestly, "I didn't sleep. My joints are killing me." They changed my medication again. At first, people listened. They nodded. They said, "Sorry to hear that." They patted my arm. I thought honesty was connection. Then something shifted. The invites came less often. Phone calls got shorter. Questions turned into quick check-ins instead of conversations. "How you doing?" Same old. "Hang in there." I noticed people standing a little farther away, changing the subject faster. At Thanksgiving, I caught myself listing symptoms while everyone else passed the potatoes. I didn't see it then. I felt ignored, left out, unimportant. But the truth was simpler and harder to accept. Everyone was tired. Everyone was hurting. Everyone had their own list of problems they were barely managing, and I was adding mine to the pile. According to a study published in the Journal of Aging and Health, repeated exposure to negative health talk increases emotional fatigue in listeners, especially within families. In plain terms, people shut down when they feel helpless. They don't leave because they don't care. They leave because they don't know what to do. The moment that broke me came from someone who didn't know he was breaking me. My grandson. We were in the living room. I was rubbing my knee again. He leaned toward his sister and whispered, "Grandpa always complains." He didn't say it to be cruel. He said it like a fact. That sentence stayed with me longer than any diagnosis ever did. That night, I sat alone and replayed conversations from the past few years. I heard myself. Always tired, always sore, always struggling. I had turned my pain into my introduction. That's when I understood the second secret. Pain shared in the wrong place doesn't create closeness. It creates distance. Not because people are heartless, but because pain without solutions feels like a trap. Your body already carries enough. You don't need the stress of watching people slowly pull away. The mistake isn't talking. The mistake is talking to everyone. Pain has a place. Doctors, therapists, caregivers. A spouse who signed up to walk the road with you. That's where pain belongs, not at the dinner table, not at every gathering, not as the headline of who you are. When pain becomes your identity, people stop seeing the rest of you, your humor, your experience, your stories. All they see is struggle, and struggle, when shared without boundaries, wears people out. This isn't about pretending you're fine, it's about choosing dignity. There's a difference between honesty and overexposure. One builds respect, the other drains it. Here's the truth most people won't tell you. People don't leave because you're hurting. They leave because they feel powerless listening to it. When you protect where your pain goes, you protect your relationships and your health. Because loneliness raises blood pressure faster than age ever will. That was the second secret. And once I learned it, I realized something even harder. Some damage doesn't come from sharing too much. It comes from sharing too soon. And that leads directly to the next mistake I made. One that killed a future before it ever had a chance to begin. This is the third secret. And it's the one that quietly kills your future. After you learn to guard other people's secrets, after you learn where your pain does and doesn't belong, there's another mistake waiting. Especially after retirement. talking about what you're going to do next. When I retired, I didn't want to disappear. I didn't want to sit still and watch days blur together. I wanted something small, something useful. A side gig, nothing big. No employees, no ambition to grow. Just a little repair work out of my garage. Bikes, lawn mowers, broken tools people didn't want to throw away. I stood in that garage more than once, hands in my pockets, radio humming in the background, looking at tools I'd collected over decades. I knew what I could fix. I knew people needed it. It felt right. So I did what most people do. I talked about it. At dinner, I said it out loud like it was already real. Dad's going to start a little repair service. The table went quiet for half a second. Then came the concern. My son leaned back and said, "Dad, you'll need paperwork, insurance, liability. It's a hassle." A neighbor later said, "You know people will sue if something happens." A friend laughed and added, "At your age, just relax. You earned it." None of them were cruel. That's what made it dangerous. Each sentence sounded reasonable, responsible, protective, and each one took a small piece of energy with it. I didn't argue. I nodded. I said, "Yeah, maybe." That night, the garage felt different. Not impossible, just heavier. I told myself I'd wait. Wait for warmer weather. Wait until after the holidays. Wait until I felt more confident. Waiting felt smart. It felt cautious. It felt like wisdom. Months passed, then years. One morning, a flyer showed up in my mailbox. Small engine and bike repair, local, affordable. A kid down the street. Young, motivated. His driveway was full within weeks. People lined up because he did something I didn't. He acted before he talked. That's when I understood the third secret. When you announce your plans too early, your brain treats them like accomplishments. Neuroscience backs this up. Studies from NYU have shown that talking publicly about goals releases dopamine, the same chemical tied to completion and reward. Your mind feels satisfied before the work begins. And once satisfaction arrives, urgency leaves. There's another problem. Other people don't hear your plans as possibilities. They hear them as risks. And they project their fears onto you. Their lawsuits, their failures, their regrets. They don't mean to sabotage you. But they do. Quietly. One sentence at a time. By the time you realize it, the plan doesn't feel exciting anymore. It feels heavy, risky, unnecessary. That weight doesn't just affect your future, it affects your health. Purpose after retirement is strongly linked to lower rates of depression and cognitive decline, according to research from the National Institute on Aging. When you talk yourself out of action, your body notices. Days stretch, motivation fades, energy drops. Here's the strategy I wish I had learned sooner. Work in silence. Don't announce, don't explain. Don't invite opinions before results. Build quietly. Let progress speak for you. Because when you've already done it, no one can talk you out of it. Once it exists, doubt loses power. That's the third secret. Your plans are fragile before they're real. Protect them, because what you say can decide whether your future ever gets a chance to exist. And the next secret taught me something even harder. Some things don't disappear when you talk about them. They multiply. This is the fourth secret, and this one drains you slowly, without making a sound. After plans die from too much talking, money becomes the next thing people listen for, not because they're greedy, because money changes the rules. It started at a family gathering. Nothing special, just folding chairs, paper plates, and too much food. Someone asked the question people always ask retirees. "So, retirement treating you well?" I smiled and answered without thinking. "We're comfortable. I'm set." I didn't brag. I didn't give numbers. I just spoke. That was enough. A few weeks later, my phone rang. My grandson needed help with tuition. Just for this semester. Then a cousin called. Short-term loan. 2 months tops. Then an old friend from work. Medical bills. Anything helps. I said yes, because family is family, because helping felt right. At first, it felt good. Then something changed. Calls stopped unless someone needed something. Messages came with urgency, not warmth. Birthdays passed without a word. Holidays came and went quietly. But the moment someone was short, my phone lit up. I became reliable, not as a person, as a resource. According to a study from the University of Michigan, financial dependency within families increases stress and resentment on both sides, especially among older adults living on fixed incomes. I didn't read that study until later. I lived it. I noticed conversations shift. People talked around me differently, assumed I could cover things, expected generosity without asking, and when I hesitated, even once, the tone changed. Disappointment, distance. That's when I understood what money really does. It doesn't just buy things. It rewrites relationships. Once people believe you're fine, they stop protecting you. They stop seeing limits. And limits are what keep you healthy. Stress from financial pressure doesn't announce itself. It shows up as tight shoulders, shallow sleep, a quiet dread when the phone rings. I wasn't angry, I was tired, and tired people get sick faster. Here's the lesson I learned the hard way. Money is a boundary. The clearer it is, the safer your relationships become. You don't owe anyone your financial story, not your comfort, not your planning, not your sacrifices. In America, there's a simple answer that works. I'm getting by. That's it. No details, no explanations. If you choose to help someone, help with rules. A fixed amount, no expectations, no repeats. Help once, on purpose, not endlessly out of guilt. Because guilt is expensive, and it costs more than money. You can give someone cash, but don't give them access to your peace. That was the fourth secret. And by then, I thought I had learned how to protect myself. I was wrong. Because there's one more thing people listen for. Something older than money, deeper than plans, and harder to take back once spoken. This is the fifth secret. The last one, and the most expensive. By the time you reach old age, you don't fear failure anymore. You fear being defined. I learned that in a place built on forgiveness. A church basement. Folding chairs in a circle. Coffee that tasted burnt no matter who made it. It was a community group. People sharing testimonies. Stories of struggle. Stories of redemption. The message was always the same. Be honest. Bring things into the light. Truth will heal. I believed that. I wanted to believe that. So when it was my turn, I spoke. I talked about the years when I drank too much. Not every night, but often enough to matter. I talked about working too much, missing dinners, missing moments I can't get back. And I talked about one choice I made when I was younger. A decision that still made my chest tighten when I remembered it. I didn't dramatize it. I didn't hide behind excuses. I just told the truth. People nodded. Someone squeezed my shoulder. A woman smiled and said, "God forgives." For a moment, it felt lighter. That's what makes this secret dangerous. Relief feels like healing. But relief doesn't last. Over the next few weeks, things shifted. Not loudly, quietly. Eye contact didn't hold as long. Conversations felt careful. Invitations came less often. Nothing was said. That was the point. One Sunday, I overheard someone say, "You know, given his past." They didn't finish the sentence. They didn't need to. That's when it hit me. People may forgive, but they don't forget. Your past becomes shorthand for who you are. Not who you've become, not what you've built since. Just the label. Psychologists call this identity fixation. Once people associate you with a mistake, their brains default to it, especially in social groups. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to this because community matters more when circles get smaller. That stress, the constant awareness of how you're seen, has real consequences. Studies published in The Gerontologist show that perceived social judgment in older adults is linked to increased anxiety, depression, and even cognitive decline. Again, I didn't need research to tell me that. I felt it. Tighter chest, shorter breath. a sense of shrinking. Here's the truth no one says out loud. You don't owe the world a full accounting of your past. Growth doesn't require witnesses. Repair doesn't require confession to a crowd. Fixing what you broke happens through action, through consistency, through how you live now, not through how much you reveal. There are places for the past. A therapist's office, a quiet conversation with God, if you believe, a direct apology to the person you actually hurt. Those are sacred spaces. Public spaces are not. Once something leaves your mouth, it no longer belongs to you. It belongs to memory, to interpretation, to gossip, and you don't control any of that. Here's the final lesson. Forgiving yourself doesn't need an audience. Healing doesn't need applause. And peace doesn't come from being fully known. It comes from being wisely private. Your past should live in your heart as a lesson, not on your tongue as a story. That was the last secret. And it took me most of my life to understand it. Because once you stop giving away your past, your money, your plans, your pain, and other people's secrets, something strange happens. Your body gets quieter. Your sleep deepens. Your chest loosens. And that's when you finally realize what all of this was really about. Not silence, but survival. By the time you reach this age, you stop searching for new answers. You start listening to the ones you ignored. So let me say them clearly. One last time. No stories, no explanations, just the truth. Other people's secrets. Say them out loud, and you betray someone who trusted you. Your pain, share it in the wrong place. And you isolate yourself without realizing it. Your plans, talk about them too early, and you kill your own momentum. Your money, reveal it, and you invite people to cross lines you'll struggle to redraw. Your past, confess it to the world, and you let others decide who you are. 5 mistakes, 1 pattern, words given away too easily. When I look back now, I don't see a life ruined by bad luck. I see a life slowly drained by unnecessary exposure. I thought openness was strength. I thought honesty meant saying everything. What I didn't understand was this. Every word you release becomes someone else's to carry or misuse. At 76, I don't regret the work I did. I don't regret the long days or the tired nights. I regret the boundaries I didn't protect. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're filters. They decide what reaches your heart, your sleep, your blood pressure, your peace. And peace matters more than pride at this age. I'm sitting on my porch again now. Same chair, same quiet street. The porch light hums softly. The air moves just enough to remind me I'm still here. Nothing dramatic. That's the point. Peace doesn't announce itself. It arrives when you stop handing pieces of your life to people who never asked for the responsibility. I'm not telling you this so you distrust everyone. I'm telling you this so you choose carefully. Who hears your story? Who carries your pain? Who knows your plans? Who counts your money? Who remembers your past? Not everyone deserves access. That doesn't make you cold. It makes you wise. Silence is not weakness, it's wisdom. And a secret shared is a secret betrayed. So let me ask you this. Which of these 5 mistakes did you recognize yourself in? Not the ones you've already fixed, the ones you're still carrying quietly. Leave a comment below, not for me, but for yourself. And if this story helped you understand your stress, your boundaries, and your heart a little better, subscribe. Because next time, I'm sharing 5 everyday foods that research shows can help support and even reverse heart damage after 70. You don't want to miss that. Thank you for listening. Take care of your heart.